Today we're going to talk about what I like to call the new Rotary. We are the new Rotary Midday Club, and we are the new Rotary International. Important changes have been coming about in Rotary in recent years. Our reputation as an old white man's club has been hard to rebrand, but it's happening and we will succeed. We've been an extraordinarily successful Rotary Club since 2005. We've invested more than $1 million in the community. We're probably the most productive Rotary Club in our district of more than 100 clubs. Is that true? But regardless of our achievements, we can be better, we can achieve more, and we can more closely reflect the community where we live. Our personal Rotary experiences can be improved by us being more diverse. Why, you ask? Why, if we're so hugely successful, would we want to consider change? So there's some compelling reasons for that. One is morally correct. Two, people with different backgrounds, with different life experiences, add a perspective to what we like to call facts. Peace and justice are the cornerstone of Rotary values. It will be more fun, including more people. Rotarians believe in the four-way test, and as such, we are bound to seek diversity. Because is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Are core tenets of Rotary that we should pay attention to. And number 6, my reason is there are just not that many interesting old white men anymore. So why else do we need diversity, new blood, and fresh perspective? We have a leadership problem in our club. Our club does not have enough depth in leadership. We have enough leaders to get through the year, but we do not have leaders in the wings and being trained. We need people in the club who want to make things happen. People who understand that the VP of Club Services can completely change our image in the community. People who know that the Vice President of Community Projects can guide us to the projects that they want. We need Vice Presidents of membership that embrace the opportunity to guide our future. We need a competition of good ideas, and we need to figure out who's going to step up after Ron, Melody, Joe, Dorothy, and Peter. Actually, I really don't get it. We should have members that are excited for these opportunities because it's an opportunity to change lives forever. I can tell you that being president is an amazing platform of influence. The Rotary Club president has immediate status in the community, immediate status with the municipal government, and with other NGOs. It's a real opportunity. So this leadership issue has bothered me for more than just 1 year, and it's one of the reasons that I agreed to become president, because I want to try to find a solution to this problem. After a lot of thought, I figured out what the problem is we're all so damned alike that it doesn't matter who has the office. We have no diversity. And whoever's president will do what the other president would have done. So we need diversity. So it seems like we are copy-paste, copy-paste, copy-paste year after year. And if nothing changes, why not let someone else carry the water bucket? So we need people to get excited about being the leader and excited about the opportunity to carry our club in new directions. So what do you want in your Rotary Club? I want my Rotary Club populated with people with vision. I want people to buck the status quo, push the edges, reach out for new extraordinary achievements. I want people with hope. We need energy. We need diverse ideas because we need controversy. What we lack is passion. We need leaders who will take us forward, who will be persistent and stubborn. We need leaders who have a vision for who we are and what we will become in the next 5 years. We need members that are engaged. We need members who will step up and turn out to our events. So let's put service above self to practice. And when we have events, you need to be there. So it's important that I can report that from 16% in 2020 to 25% today and to 34% at the end of this month, we're making great progress of bringing new women into the club. Women are only one part of being diverse. We need Mexican members, more members from other countries. We need youth. My God, ask Fred how much he needs youth when he's planting trees. But seriously, young people bring optimism and new ideas. Young people never say, well, that's the way we used to do it. Youth are tuned into a horrific future that we face on this planet. And so let's turn the helm over to those that can do more good. I want to see a club whose membership reflects the totality of the community of potential members. We are a Mexican Rotary club that happens to use English as our predominant language. That's not a limitation, it's an opportunity to attract diversity. Diego left. Diego, you need to change the slide. Oh, he's back. DEI. Thank you. Jennifer Jones, the first ever woman president of Rotary International, has chosen 4 major initiatives for this year. Her most important goal is diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI. She also wants to continue our past president's goal of empowering girls. She wants the Rotary clubs to create a welcoming experience. And lastly, she wants Rotary to expand its reach, to open doors and do more through diversity, more viewpoints and more of everything. So I'm going to start with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because achieving diversity is not simple. So look around you. We like our club. We like most of our members. We really don't see anything terribly wrong as we look around. This room is safe, it's comfortable. It's a place we can come every Tuesday. You feel at home here. The breakfast is good and it's only 150 pesos. Life is good. Are you feeling good sitting there in your chair? Do you realize that not everyone in this room feels as comfortable as you? It may not be true that this is safe and comfortable if you're a woman. It may not be true if you don't have 50 pesos to put in for Happy Pesos. That may embarrass you. It may not be true if you're struggling to fully understand the words of this presentation. Face it, there are many things that we take for granted that for others is a difficult challenge. Having everything handed to you on a platter is all about something we call privilege. And we may think we don't have privilege. We may think that we have what we have because we earned it, and it is our right. I find that I can easily identify privilege in other situations or cultures, and a great deal of Rotary's work in the community is about challenging privilege. Let's look at privilege when we look at groups where we don't live. Privilege is easy to identify when we're thinking about our beneficiaries in the campo. In comparing ourselves to them, we can immediately see those people do not have the same opportunities we have. They are poor with little chance to reverse that. They have limited educational opportunities. They don't dress the same, talk the same, or act the same way we do. They are treated differently by authorities, be that the government or DEEF or Transito. 100% different than the way we're treated. We're immediately respected, trusted, and given the benefit of the doubt. Do people from the ranches receive that same treatment? No. So our government is run mostly by men, people with privilege, and they capture privilege for themselves and for us. We have benefits that would never be given to a country person: running water, electricity, toilets, respect, and so forth. It's easy for us to see the unfairness in this, and we go out in the community, so we build cisterns and composting toilets. We've spent $1 million in cisterns, toilets, beekeeping, libraries, and so forth, all because of the inequity of privilege. When we see injustice, we as Rotarians strive to even the playing field. Wise Girls is a great example of a population where the boys in the campo have privilege over the girls in the campo. Boys reach puberty and celebrate erections and wet dreams. Boys are encouraged to be boys. Their lives are marginally interrupted when they reach puberty, unless in puberty they realize that they like Jack more than they like Jill. As boys stay in school, celebrate their new powers, and excel, the girls are going through a totally different process that leads them to lose self-esteem. They differentiate themselves from the boys, and it causes them to miss as much as 25% of school every month. For us, it's easy to see the boys are getting a huge step up, only because they're boys. They did not earn this privilege, they were born with it. They achieve more than girls in school, they get better jobs, and they have more opportunity because of privilege. It's not difficult to see the unfairness of this. It's a privilege that lasts a lifetime, is passed down from generation to generation, and it becomes what we call systemic privilege. Ask a boy if he has privilege, and if he believes that as a boy, he'll just say, this is my right and this is my heritage. Are we like that? Whereas it's easy for us to identify privilege in the campo, it's not so easy to admit or identify privilege we have in our own lives. When we think about it, many see ourselves as different, and we have all had different experiences that we bring to the table every time we meet. We have not had privilege. Let me think about that a minute. How my experience may be different from yours or different from the person sitting next to you. We don't want to admit that we've achieved what we have strictly because the world was built to favor us. We are practically guaranteed good fortune, and we perpetuate our privilege by institutionalizing it. Could it be that we have more money because we worked, not because we worked harder and smarter? Maybe we have more money because we had more access to higher education, internships with high-paying companies, friends and relatives that gave us opportunities. And if you think about it, this is not something that we earned. Think about who in our club does not have unlimited privilege. Diego, can you show the video? many people had more than 8 fingers still up? Privilege. Privilege. So if you're wondering, I'm not criticizing or suggesting that I'm about to give up my privileges. However, to have equality, justice, and fairness in Rotary, we need to be able to see and admit and recognize our privilege. We need to speak up when privilege is unfairly giving someone else an advantage that has not been earned. We need to step out of our comfort zone to recognize and invite others who are not like us to join us. It will make us better. So we need to step outside of our comfort zone when we choose new members. We need to be open-minded, and we need to invite people to meetings who may not look and act like you and me. We need to do this if we want to be diverse. But diversity alone is not going to change our club. Once we have captured a diverse person, we must engage them and welcome them and their ideas and their experiences that have come from such different life than we have led ourselves. When selecting members of a Rotary committee, we have to resist the urge to invite only our friends, because finally our friends are not the ones who will open our minds with new ideas. We need to recruit diversity, and then we need to be willing to watch the result, to accept the result. We need to set aside our privilege and give others an equal opportunity to succeed. It's not easy, but it'll make us better. So here's another video, Overcome Bias When Interviewing and Hiring. So this is about hiring for a business, but instead of hiring for a business, think of this as our membership committee and our club trying to draw people.
Recently, I've been asked to comment on some of the most common unconscious biases that can affect hiring managers during their interview processes. 3 of the most common unconscious biases that can have hugely damaging results are first impression bias, affinity bias, and confirmation bias. Let's talk about first impression bias. First impression bias happens to us when a candidate walks in the door. They look great, they sound great. Unconsciously, we do leap to the assumption that because they look great and they sound great, that they will be great. This bias influences us in that we start to look at the candidate through rose-coloured glasses from the very outset of our interview. It also makes us become a little less diligent in our interview process. The second bias that can affect us at interview is the affinity bias. And the affinity bias lures us into judging candidates who we share an affinity or similar qualities with in a better light. So for example, you might have studied at the same university as your candidate. Perhaps they even worked for the same firm in the past. Perhaps you share the same hobbies and passions. The danger of affinity bias is simply that we tend to bestow greater strengths and greater skill capabilities upon the candidate without qualifying them. The third bias is called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias influences us to unconsciously seek only the information that supports our early stage finding or assumptions. And it influences us to underweigh, undervalue, and even ignore information that might conflict or does not support our early stage findings. When we're affected by this bias, we stop listening deeply, we stop probing for solid examples and explanation. We might even feel the need to skip or move on from some of our crucial interview questions. So in action, these 3 unconscious biases can form the perfect storm. The candidate makes a great first impression at interview. First impression bias leads you to think they look great, they sound great, they must be great. You've arrived at an early stage assumption and you may have rose-coloured glasses on. Right after first impression bias gets a handle on you, affinity bias is lining right up behind it. Let's say in this instance the candidate has worked at one of the companies that you've worked for too in the past. Let's say it's Deloitte. Affinity bias can influence you into saying things like, oh, I see you worked at Deloitte's too. In fact, we're in the same team, but at different times. I don't need to ask you about your financial modelling skills today. You would have nailed it there. Affinity bias influences you to make even more assumptions about your candidate, and it encourages you to feel the need to stop or skip some of your crucial interview questions. And as the final part of the perfect storm, confirmation bias walks into the room. Under confirmation bias's influence, you are compelled to seek out only information that supports your early findings. They're the early findings that you made with the help of first impression and affinity bias. Here, you might even steer away from actively listening for information that does not support your early findings, and if you do come across that information, you might feel compelled to ignore it. Remember, these are unconscious biases, and that means sometimes we don't even know when we're under their influence. Being aware of them is the first key to making better hiring decisions. Interviewing with panel members who are different to you is another way to overcome it, because you may not share the same affinity biases with those differing people. And one of the final ways to manage these unconscious bias is to be aware that when you initially have a really strong reaction, you really like a candidate, they sound great, they seem great, or you share common traits with them, is that in those situations, they are an absolute flag to be more diligent, not skip any interview questions, and most definitely stick to your interview plan. If my team or I can help you find great staff, please reach out to us at kingstonhumancapital.com.au.
So if we're going to achieve our goals to have membership look more like the community where we live, we need to set aside some of our preconceived ideas. So where are we in this presentation? If you're feeling a little uneasy, that's probably good. To keep it all in perspective, however, remember that we're not just throwing open the gates to anyone who looks different from us. Rotary's core values are not negotiable. And it's those values that make Rotary the excellent organization that it is. Rotary has a code of conduct. We have our four-way test to guide us. And the four-way test guides us in keeping the values of integrity and honesty always in the front. We can all look different on the outside, but we still can share the same core values. So to sum up this talk, we've talked about DEI and its importance. We've talked about the importance of empowering girls, and everyone knows about our new Niñas Sabias project. Jennifer Jones, our president, also stresses the importance of building a friendly and welcoming club experience. Shock. We think of ourselves as friendly and welcoming, but we do not always appear and act that way. I was recently talking with a member who had gone to visit a different committee, and she made a suggestion about how to make some improvements and make the meeting more effective. Later, she expressed her frustration because the comment was not even recognized or addressed. I was in that meeting and I observed it happen, and I should have spoken up. I just remember thinking that if she had been a man, I think that very valid suggestion would have been addressed. I can point out various people in the room that have almost quit Rotary or after they've been invited to join because no one was paying attention to them or engaging them in Rotary activities. Peter won't mind if I point him out. He had his experience. There are some other members here too that had the same experiences. And these members told me how lonely it was to be a new member. I was so surprised by these comments because they don't track my privileged Rotary life. Truthfully, we are actually unfriendly to visitors. It's because we like ourselves too much and we're too friendly with each other. When you come in, you tend to sit down with your friend that you only see once a week and you all have a long conversation. And then other strangers walk in the room and you ignore them. So we've started a new greeter program to try to be part of a solution but we need every member to take a moment and get to know a visitor. Invite them to sit with you. Listen to why they're visiting. Being friendly is not without an effort. Joan's last initiative is about expanding our reach. And if we do the things we've talked about today, our reach is automatically going to expand. We will have new people with different histories, with different life experiences, different goals, with new ideas, yet with our same values. And that's it.